and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kaili and this is Foodie Friday. Summertime, and I am so excited to announce that I am introducing a segment within Foodie Friday called Summer Stunners, and it's going to be 10 weeks of spectacular summer-inspired recipes. So this is the first week out of 10 in our Summer Stunners list, and we are going to be kicking it off with homemade pizza. When I think of pizza, I think of all kinds of different, really fun, great memories. The first thing I think of is growing up making homemade pizzas with my family. The second thing I think of eating pizza in college with my husband when we were dating. And then I also think about Italy when I eat pizza because I had the opportunity to study abroad in college, and that was pretty much all I ate. I lived off of pizza and pasta, and it was amazing. So often pizza gets a bad rap because of the carbs in it, and so a lot of times people avoid pizza when trying to remain healthy. However, this recipe is made for all of my fitness freaks out there who are trying to watch their weight. This recipe was not only created in regular measuring whole fashion with healthier ingredients you can feel good about eating, but it is gluten-free, paleo-friendly, nut-free, and low carb. I'm very excited to introduce the first recipe in our Summer Stunners series. So without further ado, let's make some pizza. All right, friends, this recipe is really fun to make. It's gonna be a little different than normal pizza dough. We're not gonna be using any yeast or anything, but it still rises and makes a perfectly fluffy, dense pizza dough crust like normal. So we're gonna be using 1 cup plus 1 tablespoon of tapioca flour. This flour is key for the entire pizza dough. And then we're also gonna be using 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. This is going to help stabilize our dough. And then we're gonna be using a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. For our wet ingredients, we're gonna be using 1/2 cup of full fat coconut milk. I promise you, you won't taste this in the recipe. This will help thicken our dough. And then we're using 1/4 cup of water. Then we're gonna be using some eggs, around 3 to 4. I'll explain this later when we're making our dough. Our final ingredient is 5 tablespoons of sustainable palm shortening. So to start off our dough, we're going to take all of our dry ingredients and we're going to add them to a bowl, and we'll whisk these together until well combined. You'll want to do this for a later step. So be sure to do this step first because everything else is time sensitive and you'll need your flour ready to go. Once all of your flours are mixed together, we're going to add our coconut milk, our water, and our palm shortening to a small or medium saucepan over medium-high heat. So it is imperative that once you add all of your ingredients, you'll turn on your heat and then you'll whisk until that palm shortening melts. You'll want to whisk this just because you don't want anything to scald when you're making your dough. So once you have all that palm shortening into your pot, go ahead and turn your burner on medium-high heat, and we'll whisk this until that palm shortening melts down completely. And then we're going to allow this to simmer just slightly. So once that palm shortening has melted, remove your whisk and then kind of watch the pot carefully. This will only take a few minutes, like maybe 5, and then once you see some bubbles appear, you'll remove the mixture from the stove top, and then you're going to add in your flour. Once you add in your flour, you're going to need to act quickly, and so you'll take a rubber spatula and you're going to mix this together until a choux dough forms. Choux dough is similar to a dough that you would use to make churros, different things like that. So we're going to be making our choux with the flour and the palm shortening, coconut milk, and water combined. So just continue to stir. I've videoed the whole thing for you until this kind of clumps together. It won't be a complete clump. That's what the eggs are going to do. It's going to bring our dough together. So continue to stir until all of that flour is absorbed. Once your choux dough has formed, add to a stand mixer. You can mix this by hand, but if you do have a stand mixer, this is an easier step. But using a hand mixer or a stand mixer, we're going to add in 1 egg at a time. In the directions, it says that you'll need around 3 or 4 eggs. I used 4 in this recipe. It really depends on your environment, the moisture in the air, all of that stuff, because we're looking for a specific consistency. So usually it takes around 3 or 4 eggs. What you'll want to do is add in 1 egg at a time as your mixer is going. So here I'm adding 1 egg at a time. I've added 2 eggs thus far, and I'm gonna continue to whisk this dough together. It's kind of clumping together, kind of falling apart. It's like a weird consistency. You're gonna be looking for a very sticky dough consistency. So I've added 2 eggs so far. I'm adding a 3rd here, and then I went ahead and whisked one more egg in a bowl separately to add once our dough gets nice and tacky. So you're gonna actually want the opposite of a normal pizza dough. Normally you want it to ball up into a dough ball, but this time you want it to kind of flatten out and make this very sticky consistency, and you'll see why in just a few minutes. So once you have this consistency, it's time to add in that one already scrambled egg. So add in your beaten egg, let this kind of whisk together until you get a very tacky, sticky dough. Now that we have this sticky, tacky, doughy mess, you're probably thinking, okay, like how am I supposed to make a pizza crust with this? But trust the process. So using a baking sheet that has a silicone mat, you can use parchment paper instead. However, the parchment paper is gonna move around a little bit, so I would highly recommend using a silicone mat. Be sure to use a silicone mat or parchment paper. Do not put this dough on your baking dish. Your pizza will not come off. Trust me, speaking from experience. But what we're gonna do is using a rubber spatula. You can use a wooden spoon, but I would highly recommend a rubber spatula just because you can scrape the excess dough off easily. We're going to shape our pizza. So I usually start from the center and start smoothing outward into a circular shape. I make the center a little more thin, and then I push that excess pizza dough to the outer edges so that way I have a really nice thick pizza crust edge. I am all about some pizza crust, y'all. Like the more carbs, the more bread, that's me. One great thing I would like to mention, so if you're trying to watch your waistline, this is the perfect pizza crust recipe for you, because in a large pizza, so this recipe can make one large pizza, which makes about 16 slices, or it can be 2 medium-sized personal pizzas, and in 2 medium-sized personal pizzas and 1 personal pizza, there's 25 grams of carbs. So that means in the entire recipe, so if you wanted to slam down this whole large pizza, it's only 50 grams of carbohydrates. I don't know what gets better than that. That was a rhetorical question. Nothing is better than that. But once you have your pizza just the shape that you would like, you're going to add your final smoothing touches to it, and then we're going to top this with our favorite toppings. Now that our pizza is perfectly circular, we're gonna add our favorite toppings before baking. So your girl is lactose intolerant, and to be quite honest, cheese just isn't worth it anymore. It makes me so sick. I hate that because I used to love cheese. But I'm just gonna make a cheeseless Hawaiian pizza. Yes, I like pineapple on my pizza. Don't at me. I love pineapple on my pizza. Actually, it's one of my favorite combos. So I'm just adding some fresh jalapenos, some already cooked bacon that I cooked earlier this morning in my oven, and some jerk chicken that I roasted as well. And then I'm just topping it with some pineapple. But really, this pizza dough goes well with any type of pizza. You can do pepperoni, you can do mushroom and anchovies, whatever floats your boat and gets you going. Just add it to the top of your pizza, and then we're gonna roast this in our oven at 475 degrees for 20 minutes. A key note that I would like to point out is do not open your oven the entire time this is cooking. If you do, it will cause your pizza dough to fall, and that is not what we want. We want a well-risen crust. My pizza is piping hot. It's out of the oven. I am going to devour this bad boy. Like I stated earlier, this recipe makes 2 pizzas or 1 large pizza. An entire large pizza has 50 grams of carbohydrates, and each individual size pizza, if you divide this recipe in half, has 25 grams of carbs. I hope you all enjoyed this week's recipe. If you did, please give this video a like, as well as subscribe to my channel so you never miss an upload. As always, I look forward to next week where we get together and cook another nutritious and delicious dish. All right, you guys, see you next time.